The Jungle in the Basement, by GINI GRAHAM SCOTT. Illustrations by Creative Arts. Copyright 2022 by GINI GRAHAM SCOTT. When Alicia woke up one rainy Sunday, she heard her parents talking in the basement. "The floor is all wet from the storm," said Mom. "Water came through the cracks," said Dad. "They're big enough that plants could start growing there," Mom said. After her parents went outside to pick up fallen tree branches, Alicia went downstairs, curious to see what was there. Could the cracks really be that big? Alicia sat down next to a long jagged crack, which looked like lightning scurrying across the floor. As she gazed at the crack, she saw some green blobs that looked like jelly. Suddenly, one blob seemed to vibrate. Back and forth. Up and down. She heard a little hum. Then pop, a small leaf pushed up through the crack. Alicia kept staring, curious about the vibrating blob and leaf. Soon more vibrations echoed through the room and another leaf popped up. Then another and another. Soon a wavy green line of tiny leaves appeared along the crack. Her mother called out from the kitchen, "Alicia, where are you?" Alicia stood up, glanced at the thin green line, and backed away to go upstairs. "Don't worry. I'll be back," she called out softly to the leaves. The next day after school, it rained again. When Alicia went back to the basement to check on the plants, they were each about an inch high. As Alicia watched fascinated, some shoots reached up, like little green hands stretching towards the sky. Soon more tiny green hands rose along the crack, which seemed even longer. "They're like little warriors with leaves, which are like shields to protect themselves in a fight," Alicia said to herself. Alicia touched a leaf, feeling its silky wetness. Then she saw a small yellow caterpillar crawl out from under the leaf. A few minutes later, several more followed. They arched their backs like little hooks. Then Alicia heard her mother's voice calling, "It's time for dinner." Alicia jerked up with a start and climbed the stairs to the kitchen. The next day after school, as she started down the stairs, she heard the pouring rain pounding on the basement windows. She noticed a carpet of green along the cracks that spider-webbed across the floor. Now the shoots were several inches high. Moments later, she heard a soft hum, and some butterflies with gossamer wings flew off from the green shoots. "Wow," she said, watching in wonder. "They're like a flock of birds startled by a boom." Suddenly, a clang of thunder echoed through the room, as more and more thin brown stems struggled out from the cracks. Up, up, they went, like hands reaching to the clouds. The stems grew thicker, forming a sea of green. The cracks became wider to let the stems through. Soon several small lizards with scaly green backs popped up next to the stems. A few minutes later, several dozen tiny lizards scampered from stem to stem. Alicia climbed up a few steps to watch. Soon the floor was covered by growing shoots and scampering lizards. Then a dozen stems moved towards the stairs and began covering the lower steps. Higher and higher the green carpet of stems reached, 3 inches, 6 inches, then a foot. A whole jungle was growing up at her feet. Would it stop, she wondered? Would it take over the house? Would monsters come out of the jungle? Then she heard a low hiss and saw a gray snake slither through the stems. Quickly she moved up a few more steps to the door, getting ready to escape. Before she could run away, she heard a roar and saw the tail of a lion flash by, followed by a leaping tiger. Still she felt safe, because the lion and tiger were chasing each other by the far wall and didn't see her. But what if they turned and saw her sitting there? She imagined the possibilities. Would the lion and tiger come after her? Could she get away in time? Maybe she could run up the stairs. Maybe she could hide somewhere. Maybe she could stare at them with a powerful gaze, and they would disappear like in the movies. Then she heard her mother calling. "Alicia. Where are you? Where are you?" This time, she was glad to open the basement door and see real people. Her mother rushed over to her, frowning. "I thought I told you not to go down there, while we're getting the basement fixed. It's so beautiful and sunny today. Why aren't you outside playing?" "Sunny?" Alicia glanced out the kitchen window. She saw the green leaves of the trees glisten in the bright sun. She saw the lawn with neatly mowed grass. "I thought it was raining," Alicia replied. "I heard it downstairs." Her mother looked at her curiously, then headed towards the basement stairs. Alicia felt her heart beating wildly. "Oh no. Don't go down there. All kinds of plants are growing there. Some animals too. It's a jungle." She ran after her mother and tugged on her arm to stop her. But her mother opened the door, flicked on the light, and started down the stairs. "Don't be silly. There's nothing down there." Alicia looked, and all she could see was the long crack in a big blob that looked like some spilled soda. The jungle was gone. But the next day, when she came home from school and looked in the basement, she was sure she saw a little green leaf poke up through the crack. About the author. GINI Graham Scott, Ph.D., the CEO of Changemakers Publishing and Writing, is an internationally known writer, speaker, and workshop leader. She has published over 50 books with major publishers on various topics and has written over 36 children's books. She is a member of the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. She does workshops on self-publishing and creativity, and she helps clients write books and self-publish them or find publishers and agents. Her websites are changemakerspublishingandwriting.com and changemakerskids.com. Other children's books by GINI Graham Scott. They include Native American folktales, folktales from Eastern Europe, stories about animals, realistic stories about kids, and fantasy stories. You can find them on Amazon or contact Changemakers Kids for more information.